Hello, I'm Darren Magee, and today's question asks if I would discuss the differences between pathological and compulsive lying. Now, if you like this video, if you find it helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel for future updates on mental health related topics. But just as a reminder, this video is not a substitute for support from a mental health professional, nor is it a tool to be used to diagnose someone. Now, when it comes to lying, we all lie sometimes. We might exaggerate on our CV. We may tell a white lie to cover up some embarrassment or to seem more attractive somehow. But pathological lying is different. It's something different. Sometimes referred to as compulsive lying. The terms are interchangeable. Other times known as mythomania or pseudologia, fantastica. But I think there are some differences between the pathological and the compulsive lying. But before I explain what I think the differences are, to date it is uncertain if chronic, habitual, persistent lying is a distinct disorder in and of itself, or whether or not it's part of another disorder, for example, factitious disorder. But whether or not it's a distinct disorder or part of something else, I'm going to focus on what I think the differences are between compulsive and pathological lying. So when it's part of a personality disorder, I think that's when it's pathological. There is a purpose, there is a motive for the lies. For example, with narcissism, we see lies about accomplishment, perfection, seeking envy or admiration from others. Or there's lies about their lack of responsibility, causing others unnecessary strain and shame through grossly exaggerated illnesses and upset. What we don't see is we don't see guilt and regret for the lying. With histrionic personality, we see lies to seek attention, funny stories, drama, terrible issues. With borderline personality, we might see lies to avoid abandonment and rejection. With antisocial personality, we see lies to manipulate and to scheme, blame everyone else, somehow to beat the system. We even see it present with sociopathy, again the scheming, and again though there is no guilt. When someone is on that dark triad, the combination of psychopathy, narcissism and Machiavellianism, we see a lot of lying with the Machiavellianism, the manipulation of others. With compulsive lying, I think we're seeing something different. We see a long, consistent pattern of lying, but with no apparent motive or benefit to be gained. Someone who just tells lies out of habit for the sake of telling lies. It just comes out. In cases of compulsive liars, their audience may know they're being lied to, but might not understand why they're being lied to. The strange thing is, though, the liar probably doesn't know either. They just do it. Some people feel more comfortable lying than telling the truth. They lie about things that are important, but also lie about things of no real relevance. They lie with no ulterior motive other than because they can. The lies could be as irrelevant as I had tea this morning instead of coffee, when they had coffee like they normally do. There was no point to the lie. Sometimes the lies they may tell damage other people's reputations. They may even face legal action. The thing is though, when challenged or the lie has been exposed, they still have difficulty admitting the truth and tell even more lies to cover up the original lie, even if they feel guilt. There can be outrageous lies such as, I took on 10 big strong guys and I was the last one standing. Very rarely though will you hear someone claim something ridiculous like they invented the leopard or they are a time traveler. But it can be difficult to identify or discern the difference, because with both pathological and compulsive liars, and there can be crossovers in the types of lies, in some cases there have been those who have admitted they know they are lying, which does suggest there is some control, there's some awareness over what they're doing. They are choosing to lie. However, many feel as if they're not in control of the lying, but not in control in different ways. The pathological liar might feel a lack of control because they think they have to tell lies in order to get them what they want. They can study those around them to manipulate them, to figure out how to say certain things in particular ways. With compulsive liars, it just comes out. But regardless of whether or not it's pathological or compulsive, there can be elements of self-deception. With narcissism, for example, someone believes themselves to be special and unique. They want others to believe it too. They believe others to be inferior, and they want them to believe it too. With chronic compulsive lying, it's like maybe the truth is just too mundane, which is why even when telling the truth, it can be grossly exaggerated. Maybe there's some kind of internalized reward, even something as simple as look at what I can get away with. In both cases, though, they could forget what the truth actually is, so it is more like a fantasy. And it can be difficult to navigate reality if involved with a chronic liar, whether pathological or compulsive. In either case, the lies might be peppered with elements of truth, or what could be plausibly true, in order to make the lie seem more credible. And that's when we get into the realm of what's known as gaslighting, a form of psychological manipulation. And in a relationship, if you're being gaslit, that's a form of psychological abuse. And in a relationship with a compulsive liar, somebody lies for no reason whatsoever about things that don't matter at all. They can be irritating. We can even feel embarrassed for them, especially when we hear them lying in front of others. Some of the research into compulsive lying suggests there are indicators that it is linked to low self-esteem. They lie, even if for no reason, to feel good about themselves. There's maybe been childhood trauma there. For example, as a child, they may have had to lie continually to avoid the parents' wrath. So it's become a maladaptive coping strategy which is no longer required. And their relationships with others become strained. They struggle with remembering the lies that they told, so they can't maintain them. They may even lie, they never said that, or they meant something else entirely. They get a reputation for being a liar, and no one believes a word they say. Unfortunately, though, in many cases, they try telling more lies to either win favour or gain sympathy for being called out as a liar. I'm mindful of a quote by Mark Twain. He said one time, "Always tell the truth. That way you don't have to remember anything." So there are my thoughts on the differences between pathological and compulsive lying. Now, if there are any comments, anything you'd like to add, please use the comment box below. There have been some interesting conversations starting around these videos. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel for future updates on mental health related topics. And until next time, thanks for watching.